Hello everyone, and welcome to the next Vampire the Masquerade Bloodhound related video. I am Outstar from World of Darkness team, and I am here to make more character sheets inspired by archetypes from Bloodhunt. We've already went through Toreador and Brujah archetypes and made 4 character sheets inspired by the abilities you have in the game. And now it's time for Nosferatu. 2 archetypes, Prowler and Saboteur, very much beloved by players who love sneaking around. I love playing as a Nosferatu in Bloodhunt, and I do hope you will also love role-playing as a Nosferatu in the V5. And here I'm going to help you by creating this character sheet. In this video, we will start with Prowler. And of course, our first help is going to be Bloodhunt website with the Nosferatu Primogen article, going down to the Prowler paragraph. The Prowlers are hunters. I shudder at the thought of the soundless echoes from a flock of bat familiars sent to track me down. How do I guard myself against that? The only option would be to try to escape from them, but even then, if someone would have managed to wound me, the Prowler's ability to smell the blood of my wounds from half a block away would still turn me into their prey. Chilling, isn't it? It's pretty fun because we're going to go into animalism powers today, and we haven't explored them yet in the previous character sheets. So let us jump into the sheet straight away. Of course, we're going to start with picking our clan, and that is Nosferatu. The concept is going to be Bloodhunt's Prowler. And if you watch my previous videos, you're probably used to that. We're not going to fill these character sheets one by one. We're going to jump straight into disciplines, because we want to first interpret the disciplines available in the game, the abilities that you can do in the game, into what we can do in V5. Let me show you a video of the very first power that we will cover, the Scouting Famulus. It's about sending the bats to scout an area, temporarily revealing enemies through the walls. As you can see, the Nosferatu is able to send this little bat in there that is able to communicate with them and tell them, hey, the enemy is right there. And as you might have already guessed, that is going to be animalism, one of the innate powers of Nosferatu, so we do not have to spend more experience to get it. This is something we can get by default. And we're going to focus on 3 powers in here. The first power we're going to look into is level 1 power called Bond Famulus. When blood bonding an animal, the vampire can make it a famulus, forming a mental link with it and facilitating the use of other animalism powers. While this power alone does not allow two-way communication with the animal, it can follow simple verbal instructions such as stay and come here. So this helps us with forming this connection with an animal. But of course, as it's not a two-way communication, we need to think about the fact that the bat in the game can report to us back that, hey, there's a person in there. So we need to have that two-way link. And in order to get it, we're going to get a level 2 discipline called Feral Whispers. I'm going to put it on the place number 3, why I'm going to explain later. Feral Whispers allows us for the two-way communication with animals. The vampire can commune with the beasts of the wild and the city. There are more mechanics connected with that in the book, but this allows us to do exactly what we see in the game. So have a Bond Famulus with the animalism level 1 Bond Famulus, and with Feral Whispers communicate with them in order to be able to know that there is an enemy around them. But as you can see, I did leave this place number 2 in here for something, and we're going to check that out right now. Because the second power of Prowler archetype in Bloodhunt is this one, Sense the Beast. Severely wounded enemies leave a trail that reveals their recent movement. As you can see, the Nosferatu is attacking this vampire here, and now we can see a trail that is leading us straight to them. And although this is not directly the ability which allows for that, we are going to add the ability called Sense the Beast in here. This is the ability of level 1, and as you can see, we can take 2 abilities of level 1 and then level 2 easily. And when it comes to Sense the Beast mechanics, the vampire can sense the beast present in mortals, vampires, and other supernaturals, gaining a sense of their nature, hunger, and hostility. Nothing here mentions health per se, but we can think about hostility and hunger as non-direct translations of the state of a vampire. The vampire who is wounded in the role-playing setting will try to mend themselves, and that is going to burn their hunger. Hostility, of course, is going to be also higher for a vampire who was just wounded in the battle. And with the critical win on Sense the Beast roll, we are able to get more information like this. So letting your storyteller know that you in particular want to know their states when it comes to the state of health, whether they're healthy or not, they might allow you to get it through that. One additional thing that might help with this is actually taking Auspex level 1 called Heightened Senses. The vampire's senses sharpen to a preternatural degree, giving them ability to see in pitch darkness, hear ultrasonic frequencies, and smell the fear of covering prey. This one could be even combined with another level 1 Auspex ability, Sense the Unseen, which allows us to see obfuscated enemies. But because not every Nosferatu can sense every single obfuscated person on the map in Bloodhunt, I decided not to go with this one. I believe Heightened Senses and Sense the Blood is going to be enough for us. So that means we're going to get 3 dots in Anomalism, 1 dot in Auspex, and that leaves us with the very first power of Prowler archetype. And that is Vanish. Become invisible and move rapidly for a brief duration. As you can see, the vampire disappeared in this particular moment and was able to show up in front of their enemies soon after. So here again, this is an interesting situation of interpretation of a high-level power which got a little bit of a nerf in the game. Remember Earthshock with Bruja, how I said that Earthshock in the V5 system, it destroys buildings. And in Bloodhunt, we cannot really destroy this beautiful city around us by using Bruja's powers. Let me read you the description of the high-level ability, which we are not going to take in this instance. The ability is called the same way as in the game. Vanish. The vampire can activate Cloak of Shadows and Unseen Passage, which are the obfuscate powers, even while under direct observation. The vampire appears to vanish in the blink of an eye, even the memory of them becomes foggy and indistinct. So see, the last part of the sentence here suggests very strongly that this is something way more powerful than just a vanish. The user, partially or impartially, disappears from a person's memory. It's definitely amazing for vampires to have this level of power, but no vampire in Bloodhunt per se could do that. So instead we're going to opt for lower level abilities and assume some luck in there. Let's go for Obfuscate. We're going to get 2 dots in it. The first one is going to be Cloak of Shadows. Standing perfectly still, the user blends into the surroundings. As long as they have some kind of cover, make no sound and don't move, only mechanical or supernatural means can detect them. And the second one is going to be Unseen Passage. With this power, the vampire can now move around while staying hidden. The user is functionally invisible, per the usual obfuscate limitations. So that allows us to disappear and be able to move invisibly. Some power gamers out there may point out that there's no point in having Cloak of Shadows if we already have Unseen Passage. And the natural way of vampire development, let's say, would be to first learn how to be invisible and not move, and then be able to move through it. But of course, if you want to have your character having both abilities that are really useful and awesome, you might swap this one for Silence of Death, which allows you to be completely silent while moving. This is, again, not something which we have in Bloodhunt, so I'm going to opt out of this one and go for more of a roleplay way of picking my disciplines. For me, it's natural that a vampire would have these 2 powers, but definitely if you want to get a little bit more abilities through here, you might swap the first ability to a different one. Now, one thing that we may also think about is that super speed. I'm not going to add it in here, but just in case you want that additional speed when you are obfuscated, you might also take Celerity. You will need 2 dots for Fleetness, and that is level 2 ability for Celerity, which allows you to move with a super speed. And yes, you can combine Obfuscate and Celerity together. Of course, not within Cloak of Shadows, but Unseen Passage does allow you to do that. Now, the issue is 2 levels of Celerity, which is not our innate discipline, is going to eat 21 experience points. That's a lot. We would have to make an Ancilla and a very old character in order to get that much experience points at the very beginning. And of course, you might do that. You might do a very old and powerful Nosferatu. But I seriously feel like this is just enough for me. We're going to buy Heightened Senses with our regular experience, and that is 7 experience points. I'm noting it down in here. And we're also going to buy a level 2 up Obfuscate with our regular experience, and that is 10. Obfuscate is our innate discipline, which means 5 experience points per each level. And that in total gives us 17 experience spent, which is a little bit too much for a neonate, but again, do consult with storyteller, maybe they will allow for that expenditure. And else you might just opt for making an older vampire in order to facilitate for that. So by now you should know that by default we get 1 dot in one innate discipline and 2 dots in the other. So in this case we bought level 2 of Unseen Passage, so in Obfuscate we had 1 dot originally, and in Animalism we had 2. That means that third dot has to come from somewhere. And of course, as you may already predict, this is coming from the Predator type. And for this character, we are actually going to go for something interesting, and that is Farmer. Farmer are vampires that are also sometimes called vegans that opt not to eat people. You don't drink blood from humans. You try to do your best to stick to animals. And whenever you are going to drink from a human, you are going to receive stains to your humanity. How does that really refer to Bloodhunt? As in Bloodhunt, as you probably remember, you can drink from humans. Well, of course, in the dire situations, in case something really bad happens and you just need that blood very quickly because your survival is at stake, you will still drink from humans, and then you will receive stains to your humanity. Stains for days is what happens during nights like Bloodhunt's night. As much as it's going to result in consequences to your character later, it might be in character for a farmer during a Bloodhunt like this to actually just resign from their conviction of never drinking humans and start doing that just to survive. But on a regular basis, this Nosferatu drinks from animals. This, as usual, gives us pluses and minuses to our character. First of all, important, this predator type cannot be picked by Ventru nor those of blood potency 3 and higher. We can't make an elder character that has a farmer predator type. We can add a specialty in animal ken or survival. We're going to go for animal ken and ride bats, because of course we have a little friendly bat. Interesting enough, you can also put hunting as a specialty in survival in here, which could refer to our sense the beast power and being able to hunt other players, but that's a little bit of a stretch, because survival usually refers more to your behavior in the wilderness, while streetwise is the kind of survival in the city. So we're going to invest more points in streetwise later on. We did gain 1 dot in animalism from this predator type. We also gain 1 dot of humanity, so we get 8 instead of the default 7. And the flaw that we are getting is the feeding flaw farmer. We cannot drink from humans, or else we do receive very serious stains, and that's something that is not very easily digestible for us. Now, as you see, I've added the rolls to all of the disciplines that do have any rolls mentioned. Additionally, our hunting roll for farmer is composure plus animal ken, so let's think about composure too. Oh, that's a lot of attributes we need to think about. So let's try to distribute them properly. I do believe Resolve should be our top one. It seems pretty on brand for Prowler. Then Composure being a second one. Wits a third one. And fourth top attribute we have shall be Charisma. Now we're going to go for less dexterity, strength, manipulation, and intelligence, leaving us with 1 dot in stamina, which might actually make sense because we are mostly staying stealthy, trying to avoid the open confrontation, open battle, and using our animals in order to know exactly where the enemy is coming from. This unfortunately is going to give us only 4 dots in health, but hey, we are a little squishy Nosferatu. It's okay. Now about our skills, let's try to pick a specialist one this time. We're going to go for 4 dots in animal ken, and now we have to pick 3 skills at 3. I'm going to go for awareness. This is going to give us wits plus awareness roll of 6, which is a lot of dice, and will allow us to more easily find people around the map. Streetwise definitely should be on 3, and of course stealth. Now 3 skills at 2, let's go with investigation, firearms, and melee, and 3 skills at 1, giving us athletics, brawl, and intimidation, I guess. We are a creepy Nosferatu. I think intimidation would be on brand. We can also pick 1 more specialty of our choice, and I'm going to actually go for streetwise and right hunting. See, we could have gotten survival hunting, but we are more about being a hunter on the city streets, so this is going to work better. Our willpower is going to be our composure plus resolve, which is going to give us a lot of dots, 7 dots total. And now for critical dance, again, up to your setter and your crew, Clanbane and Nosferatu. We are pretty repulsive, unfortunately, we are just very, very ugly. Now, not all Nosferatu look exactly like the ones you can see in Bloodhunt, which is more monstrous than human. Nosferatu may also look just very, very ugly by default. So imagine just the most ugly person, still looking human, but very, very, very ugly. Important to note, not all Nosferatu are bald, and definitely not all of them have pointy ears. I know that this is something that is very much engraved in our memory and vision of the world because of the original Bloodlines game from 2004, but it's not how Nosferatu are like, mainly. Of course, you can be a blood Nosferatu in Bloodhunt, but I'm very happy that we can finally have Nosferatu with some hair. And now for touchstones and convictions, we're going to have only one touchstone because we are pretty much of a loner. That is going to be a local zookeeper. By the way, zoo in Prague is amazing. I totally recommend you folks to visit there if you are ever in Prague. And we are of course going to our favorite site, check name generator, and we're going to go for male names. Zygmunt Duszek. I like this one. And our conviction, let's do something which is related to the game and the behavior of prowlers in the game. Never ignore your famulus call. If your famulus is telling you that there is a player somewhere, that there's an enemy, sorry, that is trying to sneak up to you, you shall not ignore what your famulus is saying. You shall not go and loot, you shall not go and do something different at the same time. You need to listen to your famulus. So let's go for this as a conviction. If we're going to break it, we're going to receive stains. And now for the fun stuff, let's go for merits and backgrounds. We're going to start from the low clan lore sheet, which combines clans like Gangrel, Malkavians, and Nosferatu, sometimes also Bruja and Tremere in some domains. This is about clans which do not have that much presence in the courts, clans which are not as much respected by the Camarilla and by the officials as the others. And the one we're going to pick is Cursed with Pride on level 2. In some cases, the low clans take great pride in the severity of their banes. For example, some Nosferatu believe their hideous appearances are a mark of glorious monstrosity, instead of something to be hidden. You have learned to use your clan bane as a weapon, gaining an automatic success on 1 roll per story when incorporating your bane into action. You want to scare people with how you look like, you want to flash out those vanity items and just be proud of the fact that you look like a Nosferatu. This is very much on brand for those Nosferatu who are proud of who they are. And we are, so let's put it there. That's actually a background, so lore sheet, low clan, 2 dots. Now we're also going to go for these two. So Bloodhound is the first one. It seems to me very much on brand for someone who would have sensed the beast ability in Bloodhunt. You can smell the resonance of a human's blood without tasting it. You still need to be within the olfactory range of the person. That's something that actually every single character from Bloodhunt has, because we are able to see the resonances of our characters, but I feel that in particular Prowler should have it just because of their kind of a bloodhoundy powers. And we are also going to give him Iron Gullet. You can feed from cold blood, rancid blood, and fractioned plasma. None of these provide resonances. Ventru may not take this merit. Oh, poor Ventru. Iron Gullet on level 3 under merits. So here's the funny thing. Every single character in Bloodhunt also kinda has this merit, just because they are able to drink that blood bags and those various blood vials which are left on the map. So hey, our Prowler is actually way more on brand in Bloodhunt than any other character sheet we've done so far, just because of this merit. And that takes us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 background dots. We're going to go for 1 more in Haven. It's just a base Haven, 1 dot is not going to give us anything fancy, but it's safe enough that it gives us a dot in it, so yeah, I guess we're going to survive. I filled our blood potency tab based in the book. Again, this is after errata, so if you have the old book, this would be 1 and this would be 1 as well. But we changed that to 2 just in order to give you some more power when you are surging and some more punishment when you are met with your bane. Oh yeah, and one more thing here, we need to of course pick 2 dots in flows as well. And we're going to pick 1 flow that is going to take 2 dots in here, and that is Obvious Predator. You exude a predatory demeanor, and humans instinctively fear and mistrust you. Lose 2 dice from any dice pool for hunting except purely physical expressions of stalking, chasing, and killing. Lose 1 die from any dice pool for any social tests intended to put humans at ease. You cannot maintain a herd. It does make a lot of sense for our character just because we are not going to deal with humans a lot. And also in Bloodhunt, when you're a Nosferatu and you spend plenty of time next to a person, they might start to freak out a bit. So your aura is going to definitely contribute to that. I hope you enjoyed this character creation. We're going to go to Saboteur next, wrapping up all of the early access clans available in Bloodhunt. Please refer to previous videos if you want to know more about other archetypes, and do subscribe to World of Darkness to get more videos like this. In the meantime, don't get lost in Prague, and I wish you a lot of success on the battlefield.